be ideal from a experiential point of view. I really would like to give you an hour of silence just to soak that in. But I do think it's worth talking to you about the science of what just happened and its possible connection to a way we in the field of psychotherapy can actually take the invitation about going out into society and changing the course of cultural evolution based on this definition of the mind. So the wheel of awareness practice is just a metaphor. There is no wheel anywhere. It's just a diagram that lets you get to some very profound experiences. If we had more than 20 minutes, I would send a microphone around and we would spend as much time as we needed to get everyone's reflections on what that felt like. Now, I've done this for thousands of people, so I'm going to give you some reflections that no matter what the culture is that I'm in around this planet, it's amazing, but the experiences, as diverse as they are all the same. It's actually startling. And at the center I help run, the Center for Culture, Brain, and Development at UCLA, we study the way culture shapes brain connections. And when you find a universal pattern, it's very significant, because often culture makes things different. So this finding that it's the same is fascinating. So let me go through with you a way of thinking about this. And again, if this is something that's interesting to you, please explore the wheel so you have your own first-person learning that happens. That's where true wisdom comes from. It's not what someone else is telling you. It's what you know from the inside out. And that's why I chose to use so much time of a keynote to actually have you be your own teacher. Because wisdom comes from inside of you, not from what someone else tells you. And this is an invitation to actually develop that wisdom, not just for yourselves, where it should begin, but for all the people you work with, who you can teach about these things. You can teach them the wheel, you can teach them about the learning from the wheel. So let's go through it. Now I'm going to ask you to put a little bit of your intellectual hat on, but all these ideas are in the Pocket Guide for sure, they're in the Developing Mind, and so it goes like this. We have an interesting, let's see if I can get rid of this thing. We have an interesting problem in the field of psychotherapy, which is that we are therapists of the mind, but we have no definition of the mind. And we don't even have an academic discipline to draw upon that defines what the mind is. This is a serious problem. If you really take the term psychotherapist seriously, this is an identity crisis, if you think about it. Now, I don't know why it doesn't bug other people, but it really bugs me to be calling myself something that I have no idea what it is. So, the first thing in terms of wisdom for us as a field is we have a moment in our evolution where we actually can take all the disciplines of science, combine them into one, and from that interpersonal neurobiology approach, which is called consilience, from E.O. Wilson's use of the term, we combine all disciplines into one perspective. That's what we do in interpersonal neurobiology. We basically have a foundational science that draws on all sciences to help our field, and then go out and help education, climate change issues, whatever we do, we can come from that very scientific place. So what do we do with this word mind? Well, the first thing is that we have this issue, this fundamental question you can see on this slide, which basically says to us, if you can show the slide, that would be super. There we go. That in our work, we deal with three aspects of one reality. Yes, we deal with the mind, which we haven't defined yet, but we also deal with the embodied brain, that is this whole nervous system distributed throughout the whole body. So you can call it the body if you want, or embodied brain. And we also deal with relationships. This slide, we could spend 3 hours on this one slide, but I'm just going to give you the take-home message that when you think deeply about this for about 20 years, you come up with the following realizations of this question: what connects relationships, mind, and the body-brain? And here's the idea. that relationships are the sharing of an essence which is called energy and information. When I communicate with you and we develop a relationship, we're sharing energy and information with each other. All relationships, whatever their nature, are about the sharing of energy and information. Energy is the capacity to do stuff. Information is always based on a swirl of energy that has symbolic value. It has a meaning beyond just the swirl of energy. That's what information is. Energy, the capacity to do stuff. These are pure scientific terms. Energy is a scientific term. I've been criticized so much you cannot believe it for evoking the concept of energy, but energy is straight out of physics. And if physics is a hard science, then using energy is a scientifically valid thing to do. But this has created so much anger in people, it's fascinating. The brain is the embodied mechanism of energy and information flow. Literally, the brain is simply a mechanism by which electrochemical energy streams through the body. So it's an embodied mechanism. So what's the mind? Now, this would again be a 3-hour talk on this one little bit of this slide, but I'll just give you the take-home points. The mind can be defined, and here it is, of course, of having awareness, and it has subjective experience, and those we can talk about a little bit later, but here's the definition of one aspect of the mind, that it's an emergent, self-organizing process that's straight out of mathematics, that emerges from and also regulates. This is the recursive quality of the mathematics of complex systems. It's called recursivity. That it arises from and also organizes, that's the self-organizing part, or regulates. And here's what we're saying the system is. The flow of energy and information that's both within the body, that we're calling just the brain, and it's within our relationships. This is the key issue. The mind is not just the activity of the brain. The mind is a self-organizing emergent process that arises from and regulates energy and information flow within the body, for sure. So it's important and essential to know about the brain, absolutely. But equally important is our relationships, not just with each other in the room, but the relationships we have as a culture, the relationships we have with the planet.